Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanardo. If you're enjoying the podcast and would like to show your support, then head on over to the website and click on the Patreon link to find out how to become a show supporter. Today, I'll be talking to Michael Chidley, trainer and presenter for Les Mills Asia Pacific. We discuss goal setting and how pivotal it is to ensure you have a goal and strive to achieve it. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Michael, welcome to the Group X podcast, mate. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. It was nice to actually see you face to face down at Les Mills Live the other week as well, mate. It was nice to catch up and see you again after such a long period of time.
I know it does feel like it's been a very long time since we first met, and connecting with everybody again at Les Mills Live was very special.
Yeah. Hey, mate, just on that, when did we first meet? Because my brain racked through this the other day, and I'm going to say I know it was when I was with Les Mills. And I'm going to say it was the early days of me with Les Mills. So we're talking probably easily 9 years ago. Would I be right?
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know. Did you come to Kalgoorlie?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because then it would have been a very long time ago. Because I moved to Perth in 2013, so we're probably talking like 2011, 2012.
So 2012 it would have been, because I started with Les Mills in 2012. So whereabouts in Kalgoorlie were you? Where did you?
So I was working at the Goldfields Oasis.
Yes.
So I started teaching there and working in the gym as a gym instructor and personal trainer. And yeah, I think you would have come over and we had like some little projects that we were doing and
Yes.
setting up inside the group fitness studio.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow, there you go. So that leads me straight into how did you get into the Group X? That was a good segue without even realising that was going to happen. So, mate, how did you get into Group X? How did you get into the industry?
So I quite enjoyed sport and dance and most things fitness and exercise related when I was in high school and through primary school. So my parents used to go to the local recreation centre, which was the Goldfields Oasis, and we used to do like a lot of swimming there and lots of like poolside activities. And then while we'd be down in the pool, my parents would go up to the gym and you could see the gym from down in the pool. So we could see them working out and you could always see people walking in, and the group fitness studio, there were windows that overlooked the pool area. So you could always see these like people having fun. And so when I turned 13, my parents were like, would you like to start going to the gym? And so that's how we got started. I started going just in the health club side of things and started participating in some group fitness classes.
Yep.
And I just remember like falling in love with how it felt, how much fun it was, the music. The music was a big thing for me. And the instructors that were on stage were just super inspirational. And yeah, that's just, from then I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I was like, how do I become an instructor, or what does that look like?
Yeah.
And I reached out to Les Mills and they said that I had to be 16 in order to, become an instructor. So I was like, right, when I turn 16, as soon as I turn 16, I'm going to enroll.
Yep.
And so, yeah, with the help of my mentors and some guidance from the local gym that I was at, they kind of helped steer me in that path. And then as soon as I turned 16, I enrolled in doing my body step training.
Awesome. So you grew up in Kalgoorlie, yeah?
Yeah.
So for any listeners that aren't from Australia, Kalgoorlie is quite a regional town. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about 6 or 7 hours from Perth, like the main city.
Okay. And it's a mining town?
Yeah, mining town.
Big mining town. So what was growing up in Kalgoorlie like, mate? What is that? I mean, obviously you've said you've moved to Perth now. Mm-hmm. What was Kalgoorlie like growing up?
I think Kalgoorlie was a really great place to grow up in terms of the community, from, schooling, and there was a lot of, sports, and that was kind of what happens in these rural towns, and you kind of come together and it becomes very tight knit. And I suppose like anything, like, we've all had our moments at school where school was challenging, and that's all part of growing up. But for the most part, I'm very grateful for that time in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Cool. So when you went and did your first training, yeah, you said step. Was it step? Yeah, step
yeah.
training. Was that in Kalgoorlie, or did you have to fly into Perth to actually do?
I traveled to Perth
Yep.
and I stayed with some. So I caught the train. So I bought my train ticket and I purchased my training and I'd saved up for all of this
Wow.
and I stayed with some friends and they dropped me off at the training and picked me up over the weekend.
Love it. How long is that train ride?
8 hours.
Jesus. Mate, the only thing I'll say with that is that's a long time or plenty of time to actually learn choreography. If
Oh,
you
it was
had,
fantastic. But the
God,
problem is, when I did my training, is that you didn't receive your module
your
kit
kit until
until
the
you
day,
actually
yeah,
arrived.
yeah. Oh wow! So how was the training module for you? When did you do it as well? When was that?
So this would be 2010.
Yep.
Yeah, and Jen Rampling was my trainer.
Yes. Yep. I remember Jen.
Yeah, and it was a really fun training, but also a little bit scary as well. I was, worried that being 16, like, how am I going to fit in with all these people that are most likely going to be older than me,
Yep.
and probably more experienced. So yeah, it was quite confronting walking into the gym and, from a country town or regional town. Yeah, just it was a whole new world for me. Like I'd obviously been to Perth a few times with my family, and that was quite regular.
Yep.
But walking into this massive fitness first that was 2 stories, and there was just people and equipment everywhere, and I was like, this is so out of my comfort zone right
Yep.
now.
Yep. So who did? Yeah, you said Jen did the training. How
Hmm.
was that experience? So what were you thinking going into training? Were you like you got there and that was daunting to see everything? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you? What was? How was that? Tell us about that.
I definitely had a range of emotions over like the lead up to it. I was definitely really excited. I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and that fitness was my passion.
Yep.
And this for me was a really big step in, where I wanted to be and where I wanted to end up. And with some bigger goals as well that I was, later on down the line.
Yep.
But arriving there and then, having to get up in front of people and actually teach a track the next day was quite scary, confronting,
Yep.
and a wave of emotions. But
How
it
did you
was a
go?
very yeah. Well, I did my track. I didn't. I was able to talk. I was able to get everything out.
Yep. Yep.
Luckily enough, my mentors back in Kalgoorlie had taught the release a few times
Yep.
and had practiced with me and done some technique and things, so I felt very comfortable going in that space. They
Sweet.
really did support me.
Yep. I think that's
And
that's a really important thing, especially when new instructors are coming in, that they have a mentor and they're not just left to their own devices. I mean, I remember working back at Les Mills days when presenting the group fitness management seminar, and we'd have people always saying to us, we sent these people off to training and they've come back crap. It's like, well, hang on a second. They've just gone away and they've done this thing for the first ever time. You as mentor, you back in the club, need to actually help these guys through this process, because I'm yet to find anybody to go to initial module training and absolutely nail it and walk out being a presenter. It just doesn't
yeah,
happen, unless they've been doing something similar for many, many years. That just doesn't happen, and they need an amazing mentor to help them through to land on their feet properly and do all that. So it's great to hear that you had that in Kalgoorlie as well, and the team in Kalgoorlie did really help you do what you were doing.
yeah, for sure.
Cool. Hey, so what can you remember what track you got?
Yeah, so all the body steppers will know this. So I had the Halloween themed release, and I had the party step. And look, it was, if I was to pick a track that I really didn't enjoy,
Yep.
that was the track.
But
So it was very
what were the
difficult.
reasons you didn't enjoy it? Give us a little bit more.
Well, it had things like freaky little hands, and it was it was a bit cheesy for me,
Yep.
and I kind of felt a bit out of my place. But
Yep.
over the time, I really I loved that kind of stuff
Yes.
regardless, and
Yep.
that's what I fell in love with the program was Mark's ability to pull music and piece choreography to references and
Yep.
things like that
Yep.
the normal average person like us would not be able to pick up on
Yeah.
or think of.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it did put me out of my comfort zone slightly.
Yep. Well done for doing it, mate. Well done for getting in there. So was it back then? Was it a 2-day course or a 3-day?
2 days, yeah. So
2
two
days.
days, and
Yep.
then submit a certification video within 3 months.
Okay. Cool. So did you pass? Did you pass the shadow? How did
Yes,
you passed? Well done.
passed.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
That's a feat and a half because you were 16 at the time, yeah? That's a feat and a
Yes.
half for a 16-year-old to go to the big city from where you were, walk in there that is so daunting and so can be overwhelming as well, but to actually nail it and fit in, mate, congratulations and well done for actually taking the balls or having the balls to actually go and do it and taking that step because as I said, it can be very over the top in that regard.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. I guess as well, like Jen really set a really fun and supportive environment as well.
yep,
So it was really easy to open up about things and be exposed to the whole situation.
yeah,
And she also had Scott Hook, who was there doing some of his training sign off,
yep.
trainer sign off as well. So there was lots of hands on deck as well, which was really handy.
Awesome, awesome. So how was learning choreography for you? Obviously, the first time you'd really come across choreography.
Yeah, I was one of those participants that was always like second or third row and he was singing the music and knew the moves and like knew when their previews were. And,
Yep.
I really I absorbed that kind of
Yeah.
stuff quite easily. And I
Yep.
guess having a bit of a background in dance and things like that when I was a kid really helped that.
Yep.
And yeah, learning choreography took some time to really figure out what my learning style was.
Yeah.
For me, I'm much more a auditory
Yep.
learner
Yep.
and visual. So not so much having to do it as per se, but music and notes is how I learn the best.
Yep. Yep. How often do you watch the masterclasses?
I think initially when I'm trying to get a feel for the release and for
Yep.
the program, I will watch it quite repetitively.
Yep.
Probably I would say 4 to 6
Yep.
times, and then by then, it's like for me to embed the choreography in my brain and and feel it
Yep.
and what's happening with the music. It's all from there, just music and notes.
Yep. No, cool. I think that's you touched on something there, which I think is important, and I've touched on a few times with my chats. Is we learn in different ways. Some of us will
Mm.
learn very, very much just watching the DVDs, or not DVDs, but watching the masterclass these days. Just watching it over and over again, and then occasionally glancing at the notes or however. And then there's others like you and myself that listen to it. Yeah, we've got to listen to it, and then we'll
Mhm.
look at the notes as well. And that I've really had to. I don't teach anymore. I'm not at the moment. Not anymore. At the moment is what I should be saying there.
Hmm.
That I listen to the music a lot because I've got to find the rhythm of the music and you find where things go with it all. And then I can sit back and actually look at the notes again and go, yeah, cool. In that way, I've chatted to a lot of others that are very much, Tony, I just need to watch it. If
Mhm.
I watch it, it sinks in and I get it straight away. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. It's interesting how we've all got different learning styles and what works for us individually. This is the Group X podcast. So, how did your first ever class go? Were you taught by yourself? Well, actually, let's go back. Before you
it was
taught,
terrible.
did you teach by yourself for your first class or did you shadow with someone?
So I shadowed I shadowed my mentor.
Yep.
And for my tracks, so they were like, if you're comfortable, you can teach more than one track. And so I taught a couple of tracks, and I just flopped. I couldn't get my words out. I forgot choreography. I got really nervous standing up there in front of everybody, and them all looking back at me, and them
Yep.
being my, you know, my what would I call them? My friends,
Yep. Yeah.
and people that I would always go and do these classes with.
Yeah.
So I kind of cracked under pressure. And I went home and I cried and I was like, I don't want to do this. It's not meant to be. I can't do this. And a little bit of consoling from my mother and my mentors, and I was back up there in a couple of days.
Yeah, mate. I think a lot of us have probably had that or not that, but a very similar experience to what you had, man. It's the first class can be very deer in headlights. Yeah, I also
Mm,
came from the participant world. Yeah, sitting in the second row of bikes underneath the fan near the speaker, singing, laughing, carrying on, having a whole lot of fun. But when you are then all of a sudden out of the dark and in the spotlight, oh crap.
mhm,
There's
mhm.
14 people
Yep.
in front of you, but there's 28 eyes staring at you, and you feel every blink, every move you make, you feel is scrutinized to the nth degree. Um,
Yeah.
but isn't it funny now, though, that you don't even think about that? That
No.
you
And
just get on and you
and
do your thing and you connect with that. You use that energy that was whole, oh crap, now it's not, oh crap, it's like, come on, let's go. Let's
yeah,
do this. It's the
yeah.
confidence that changes that it helps us big time.
And you feed off that energy, and having those people there, and the smiles and that and the support that they're there for you
Yeah.
and for themselves and the experience, and yeah, it's a great privilege to be in that position.
Can you remember when that first class that you taught went so well? Can you remember that feeling of nailing it and members coming up and saying, you know what, hey, that was awesome?
I think it was probably I submitted my certification video, and probably a good like 1 or 2 months after that, I had people come up and be, really positive and reaffirm that, hey, like you're doing a really good job, like from where you first come. And that was really really nice to feel that. Not that anyone ever was negative in any way, but it was almost a bit of like that external validation
Yep.
that sometimes we don't get a lot of
Yes.
love
Yeah.
sometimes in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
So I knew that that one piece of positive feedback, although it might have been 1 or 2 sentences, meant a lot more to me in that time,
Yeah.
than I can appreciate now.
Yeah. I had, I'll just share this with you and listeners as well. I had a quite a bad experience when first starting out that I had was covering a class for Shannon Cleary. It was a last minute cover Shannon couldn't do, and she said, "Tone, can you get in there?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. I can do this for you." I walked in, and there was a girl that I knew that was a regular there. That as soon as she saw me walk to the stage, went, "Oh, are you teaching this class?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I am. Are you staying?" She said, "Oh, no, I'm going." I said, "Okay, good." And then just let her walk out. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to let you ruin this experience. You know what? I've been asked. If Shannon didn't think I could do it, then she wouldn't have asked me. She would have got somebody else.
Hmm.
And it went to show me that you're not everyone's cup of tea. You're not always everyone's cup of tea. There's going to be instructors, so there's going to be participants that will come to classes because they really like you, and there'll be participants that go, you know what, no, I don't want to see
Hmm.
that. And I was a bit put out by it at first, but at the end of it, once I taught that class and I had a few of the regulars in there go, you know what, Tom, well done. Yeah, you gave it everything, but also well done for the way you handled her as well, because it's not the best environment to walk into where someone's like, "Oh, are you teaching?" Especially when you're nervous as all hell as it is anyway. But having that moment
Yes.
was like, yeah, okay, you know what, whatever. Thanks very much. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that comes with time as well. Like I know when I was in my younger years, not that I'm that old, but when I was in the early days, let's say, of my fitness career, that kind of stuff would really put me in a negative mindset for quite a while.
yep,
And I guess I was, young and wanting to be a people pleaser in terms of, I want everyone to love me and I want everyone to love exercise. And I want, like, I want this for them more
yes,
than probably they want for themselves.
yeah,
And, I would go above and beyond to try and be this amazing thing and create this amazing space and put all this pressure on myself. And, it wasn't until much later that I was like, actually, these people are going to come because of what I do.
yep,
I don't have to do anything special
Yep.
or over the top and put so much pressure on myself. I can just have fun with them
Yeah.
and just love this experience.
Yep. Yep. Sharing that with people is huge. It's amazing. It's a nice thing when you get to that stage when you're teaching that you just be you. You know, I've
Hmm.
said it with Jackie the other week as well. It's that nice moment when you can be yourself when you're up on stage, and just the people are going to love it. The members that are in front of you are just going to love it. Well, they're not, and if they're not going to show up. It's okay. It's okay that they don't show up, because the ones that are there because they're enjoying the experience and they want to be in that experience with you, which is so powerful in itself.
Definitely.
What made you decide to leave Kalgoorlie?
So I'm a very driven person in terms of when I set my mind on something or if I have goals, I map out the steps for me to get there and use them as markers to hold myself accountable to where I want to be. So for me, I remember completing my body step training and then attending a couple of quarterly workshops, which were held in Perth. So, had to travel from Kalgoorlie to Perth, and we used to do a bit of a road trip with all the instructors in Kalgoorlie, which always made it more fun
Yep.
because we would go down together and mingle with lots and lots of different instructors when they had these big super workshops. And I remember attending the quarterly workshops and going, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to be a trainer and a presenter.
Yep.
That looks like fun. And that looks like something that I could do. So then I reached out to Les Mills and I was like, hey, I know that I'm very young in my career and that. What are the steps to become a trainer and presenter? And sent back a little bit of info about what I needed to complete in terms of advanced instructor modules and things like that,
Yep.
and kind of like a bit of and that was, I printed that off and I had that on my wall. I had a bit of a goals board, and
Awesome.
so for me, moving to Perth was chasing the opportunity that is something that I want to do,
Yep.
and being in Kalgoorlie, being a small town, realized that where I saw myself in the fitness industry, not just with Les Mills, that there are bigger and better opportunities in a larger city.
Yep.
And that was the next step for me, was to move out of home and move to Perth.
How old were you when you left?
I would have been 19.
Yep.
Yeah, 19. And, I'm extremely close with my mum and my brothers. And that was a really, really hard decision to make, purely because it meant creating physical distance between me and them.
Yep.
But something that I knew I had to do, and I came to grips with that. That's what I
Yep.
needed to do.
Cool. So how long have you been in Perth now for?
So it would be about 9 years now.
Wow. Okay. So and obviously you go back to visit, but there's no plans on heading back to Kalgoorlie full time?
No,
No.
well, I think I went to I've been back to Kalgoorlie once since I've moved to Perth, and then a few years after I moved to Perth, my family actually ended up moving up here as well.
Oh
So
wow. Cool.
very, very lucky that that happened,
Yep.
because then I didn't have to drive so far
Yeah.
now.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, they eventually moved up as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And what are you doing these days? Where are you teaching?
So I'm teaching at a few different places. So I teach at Good Life across a few locations with them, and Genesis.
Yep.
They're the two gyms that I teach at now. And from when I moved to Perth, I had a range of different jobs in terms of what I was doing. So I started working for Good Life as like a sales consultant. Eventually moved into being a group fitness manager across 2 locations,
Yep.
and then I went into being a club manager later down the line. And so now I'm currently working as a studio manager for a different brand now.
Yep.
And yeah.
Cool. And you're still obviously still teaching classes at the same time as being studio manager as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. So what other programs are you trained in? You've trained in STEP. What other programs have you got under your belt?
So probably after I trained in STEP, I almost trained in a program every year for a few years. So I trained in Body Attack later,
Yep.
and I trained in Les Mills Core.
Yep.
And I also trained in Shabam. So those are the programs that I trained in whilst I was still in Kalgoorlie.
Yep.
And then when I moved to Perth a few years later, I trained in Body Vive,
Yes.
and the most recent program that I trained in was Body Jam.
Okay. Cool. Out of all of them, what's your favourite?
I knew you were going to ask this question.
I suppose it's. Do you have a favourite? And it's okay if you don't. If they're all on par, all good. But yeah, I just thought I'd
I
ask.
think I think I have favorites for different reasons. So I think body step will always be my first love, and I'm very comfortable in that program.
Yep.
I think the program that I really enjoy teaching is Les Mills Tone. That's Body Vive. The program ceased, and Les Mills Tone was the new program that our qualification got changed
That's
to.
true. Yep.
So I really enjoy that because it's a hybrid program, and there's so much that's different and evolving from release to release.
Yes.
But I think the program that I get the most joy out of at the moment is Body Jam,
Okay.
and it's just for me. It's like it's the musical journey, it's the contrast in movements, and just the feels in the
Yeah.
room
Yep.
when we put everything together and everyone like it. There's nobody's talking. The music is loud, and yeah, it's just this epic experience, and always walk away feeling on cloud nine.
That's an awesome description. I really like that. I haven't looked.
Thanks.
I've only ever done one jam class, and that was. I'm going to easily say it was early days of my journey with Les Mills, because I think it was when the program had sort of virtually come out. I I'm not a dancer, as listeners know. I can't dance to save my life. Weirdly enough, though, when I was younger, I wanted to do ballroom dancing, and I don't know where or how that. And thank God that never happened, because it probably wouldn't have taken off anyway. But that's a really good explanation, is the word I was looking for then, of what jam is. Is it still a layered program, as in you start with this and then you add on and then you add on? Is that how it's taught?
Yeah,
Yep.
so the program, it has a couple of standalone tracks, a warm up and a hype track, and then we have a block of choreography, and that starts off with something small in terms, and then you build onto that combination and continue to add on till we have a routine and dance that towards the end of that combo, or that block, sorry, of music, and yeah, just enjoy how it feels in your body and the success that you created across that 20 minutes of, say, the block, and then a recovery track, and then you do it all again in the back block. So doing the same thing again, but a whole new block of choreography, and building that combination to just dance epic.
I might set myself a goal that next time there's a big quarterly workshop on, I'll wear black. Make sure the room is dark, and I'll run down the back of the room somewhere and give it a shot. And yeah, I'll just need to wait until the other hip replacement's done, and I'm it'll be good to rock and roll.
You'll be good to go.
Yes. This is the Group X podcast. So, Matt, tell me, how did the opportunity to become trainer presenter present itself to you? How did that come up?
So Jen Rampling was somebody who reached out to me and kept in touch with me quite often, and I suppose that was me as well. Was also trying to keep that window open, because I was chasing that as something that I wanted, and in terms of a goal, and she invited me to do some stuff with her, and to I guess be in a position that should an opportunity come up, that I was prepared and ready to audition for my program. She stepped away from her role as a trainer and a presenter, and for some time in Perth, there was no trainer or presenter for Body Step. So the boot camp process actually came around, and that I applied for, because I had done the advanced trainings
Sure.
and the
Yep.
necessary prerequisites,
Yep.
and went through the whole auditioning process for becoming a trainer and presenter.
How was that? How was that for you? That whole process, that auditioning process. How did you feel walking into it?
I would almost say it was very much the same as my first time doing my
Yep.
first initial module training.
Yep.
A sea of emotions, and again, I was very confident in my abilities as an instructor,
Yep.
and I previous to that, again would I think I had a tendency to put a lot of pressure on myself, and when maybe the opportunity didn't fall in, like let's say fall into my lap
Yep.
as I might have wanted it to, I kind of I guess beat myself up a little bit about it because I was maybe had this perfectionist tendency.
Yep.
So going into this boot camp process and the auditions, I was very much like, I'm just going to open myself up to this experience. I'm going to allow any and all feedback and take on as much as possible, and know that if I don't get the outcome that is favorable,
Yep.
that this whole process is going to allow me to receive some feedback, some
Yep.
high level feedback, and I'm still going to be able to do exactly what I'm doing, which is teaching and delivering amazing classes to people that I love and just enjoying that experience.
Yep. That's so nice and refreshing to hear. Yeah, you know that the classes that you teach on a regular basis are as, if not more important, as a quarterly workshop. You know, it's chatting to a few of the other guests. It's I suppose a realization that I've had for you guys as well is that yeah, doing a quarterly, that's really only 4 times a year.
Hmm.
Yeah, 4 times a year, you're up. You're in front of your peers. You're leading them. You're guiding them through that everything. But what really makes a difference is the classes you teach every single week. They're the
Yeah,
members that are. I'm going to say not. I will say this: they're way more important than a quarterly workshop because they're the people that rock
for
up
sure.
week in, week out. You know, there's 52 weeks in a year. 52 times those people have an opportunity to rock up to be in front of you, or you're in front of them, compared to 4 times a year where, yeah, okay, there's a couple of hundred instructors that all come together. And that is great. It's fantastic because we love that energy and we love that passion
Mm.
that we have with that. But it just goes to show the difference. And it's nice to know that you have that self-awareness as well with that, to go, you know what, yeah, cool. I'm here doing this, but I'm also here doing this at the same
Yeah,
time.
and that definitely developed over time. Like I said, there was definitely a period of my life when I was very early in my teaching career that I did want this position that I'm in right now, and I did want to tick all the boxes, and I was a perfectionist in terms of wanting and doing things to get a certain outcome.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I then, later and realized that actually, as much as I want these things, that teaching my classes is so much more important, because that's where I started. Like
Yeah.
that was me. Like I
Yep.
was on that gym floor, and I forever will be grateful that I get to be the person that now hopefully, and I mean it has happened, but hopefully can inspire
Yep.
others, to go down this same path. And I will forever cherish being able to teach my classes, and that nothing could ever take that away from me of how special that is to me.
Yeah. So your boot camp experience, obviously, I'm going to assume that it went well.
Yes. So there was many stages to it. So we had to film a video and submit it. So after we got invited to tryouts, we had to film and send off a video of us teaching. From that, we got a callback, which was a live audition where we attended one of the studios, and the we had to teach to everybody else in the room who was also applying for the same programs and other programs to be on the trainer and presenter team. So
Wow.
all these people that had also got invited.
Yep.
So the as much as these are the people that you love and team teach with and have great respect for, there's also this sense of I suppose the word is, as much as you want this for them, you want it for yourself
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So a bit of maybe healthy competition
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
word to
Yep.
use. But also, I suppose, knowing that even if it wasn't me that was successful,
Yep.
that these people are people that will represent the program
Yeah.
really well regardless.
Yeah.
And so, it was really interesting as well, because they hadn't at this time run a boot camp for many, many years.
Yep.
And this was the first one that they were reinstating this whole process.
Yep.
So it was cool to be part of that process once
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
And then from the live audition, we then got invited to attend a 2-day boot camp, which was held in WA, and it was held with Amanda Breen and Jacko Music.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that was really, really cool to be, in the presence of such inspirational role models, not only for their programs, but in the business as well, and what they do for the brand. And to then, learn even more and be exposed to the whole process in hopes of, landing a role as a trainer or presenter.
Yep. And obviously you got a tick then to say, yes, you are. Yeah. Talk us through that.
Yeah.
How did you find out? Was it an email? Was it a phone call? How did you get notification that, you know what, you're on the team?
So the boot camp was probably, I think it was just like March 2018.
Yep.
And so after that weekend of, being open to new content and understanding what makes a trainer and presenter, and going into a little bit more about the brand of Les Mills, and teaching and getting feedback, and then having to develop that across the weekend. It was an amazing experience. And then I got an email in May 2018, so a few months later, saying that I was successful and that I was offered the opportunity to be a presenter for Les Mills Tone.
Yep.
And my first workshop was then like 6 weeks later. So
excellent.
no pressure.
No, none whatsoever. You'll be fine.
So yeah, thrown straight in the deep end. The next workshop was June, and I was presenting Tone Release 2.
Yep. Brilliant. I love that. So once you actually found out, once you got your email, who was the first person you spoke to?
Oh, I think, I don't know. I can't remember. I really can't remember. I'm sure I would have. I'm sure it would have been my mum. I'm
Yep.
sure, like I would have just been over the moon. And I actually don't know who else it would have been. There's some really, really close friends, like tight knit friends, and
Yep.
it would have been one of them. But I don't want to say who it was, just in case it wasn't them.
Yeah. It was someone important. That's all we need to know. This is the Group X podcast. I got a feeling that a lot of us, mum or dad, whoever's that first close one is the one that gets the phone call straight away, and then next is like your best mate. So go, hey, guess what? Guess what just happened? I think that's cool, because even though it's a moment you haven't remembered, it was still a moment that would have happened, that person or those people would have been able to share with you on the journey as well. So,
and I definitely think as well, like my mum was a really strong rock in this whole process for me, because she was very supportive in terms of my vision, and whatever I wanted to do in terms of when I was at high school and wanting to complete my Cert 3 and Cert 4 whilst I was in year 11 and 12, like she was really supportive and would help me, and got the answers that I needed to, and always encouraged me to do better. And I was not receiving that same kind of support from my step parent at the time, and that was really hard in terms of wanting this, and then had been told that I wasn't going to be able to achieve these things, and that going down this path is not going to be able to ever support me long term. And so there was this internal conflict, and from people that were quite influential in my life. So my mum was a very strong, and still is to this day, someone who I lean on quite a lot.
Awesome. That's nice to hear. So how did the first quarterly workshop go that you presented at? How was that for you?
It was, I just got goosebumps. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? I
have Love that. I love it.
So yeah, I just got a wave of emotion thinking back to that, actually. It was such a special moment, and I had people who, like, I had my mentors from Kalgoorlie that were there. I had, my fellow colleagues, trainers and presenters. I had my members come from the gyms that I teach at.
Awesome.
And people who I hadn't seen for years. They all came to this workshop because it was held at Lord's in Subiaco, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you'd probably know that it's a
Yep.
massive gym with a massive studio that can fit hundreds of people in there,
Yeah.
and the room was just so big and full, and it was an opportunity for us to really showcase Les Mills Tone because it was, a brand new program that not many people knew much about because it was in its infancy of
Yes.
being released. So there was so many people there, and there was so much hype, and from everybody that as well attended the boot camp and was a part of the audition process. It was just we all had mad love and respect for each other, and the support was just crazy. And I had the opportunity to teach this first quarterly workshop with Rhett Cullen, and
Yes.
so he flew over from Melbourne,
Yep.
and yeah, it was so much fun. We connected really well. We had fun on stage, and yeah, the experience was just something that's well, it obviously evokes emotion
Yeah.
from me,
Yep.
and yeah, it was great.
Thank you for sharing, mate. I really do appreciate that. That's awesome to know that it's affected you in the way that it has as well, but also know that you took something away from it that was amazing, having your colleagues and your friends around you that wanted to share it with you. That's really unique and really
Yeah,
cool. Cool. Hey,
thanks.
trainer or presenter, or are you doing both at the moment? Is that what the role is these days, or is it one or the other?
Initially, you become a presenter as far as my development went,
Yep.
and so I was a presenter in Tone first, and I was on the Body Step squad, which was part of like a development kind of phase. And then I had a bit of extra time being developed in that space, and later became a Body Step presenter in a very short time. I think it was like 6 months later. I was then part of the Body Step presenting team,
Yep.
and in October 2020, so this was during lockdown.
Yeah.
No, maybe actually it would have
Yep.
probably been in lockdown
Yep.
periods. I started my trainer development process, and this was when online initial module trainings were rolled
So
out
yeah.
and being held and scheduled quite regularly. So I actually got to work with Shelley and Tio,
Yep.
and they because we could just log on a Zoom and do all this development. So we were doing all this development outside of these training modules, and then I was able to take portions of these modules. And despite the time difference, so if they're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, it was six
Six
or
thirty.
even
Yeah.
earlier in the
Yep.
morning over here in WA because of the time difference. So
Yep.
love that for me. Um, but it was a really cool process because at that time there was a lot of training, and there was a lot that being in WA, we weren't in lockdowns in this period.
Yes. Yep.
So we had our I guess time in that kind of lockdown was very short,
Yep.
and so there was training needs and things required here in Western Australia. So with with that came the ability to be upskilled into that role,
Yep.
and I was keen as to take on more and learn more and be challenged.
How was the first initial module training you took, and was it online or was it face to face?
So I did a series of online initial module trainings. I think across the time period, it would have been about four with Shelley and Tio,
Yep.
and then I then did my first solo training as a live initial module training. So that was here in Perth,
Yep.
and again, like I think I always want to be like a master at my craft, and and wanting to everything to work and be perfect. And I remember Tio giving me feedback, being like, "You've memorized that like nearly word for word. Like I like if you give me a job, I'm going to do it well."
Yep.
So I
Yep.
was I was very prepared, and I was listening to Sammy Winter's podcast episode
Yep.
a few weeks ago, and it's funny because I was so prepared that I knew exactly what this part of the module was and what to say and where this was going and the outcome of it all, and then somebody would throw me something from left field, and I was like, oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh. And now I'm like, okay, how do I need to answer this? And then like, where was I?
Yep.
And
Yep.
it was,
Yeah.
it was always a blessing because it was easy to get back on track.
Yep.
But, again, being, being new in that space, I think, it does take time to master those
Yeah.
skills and learn. And yeah, I definitely got a lot of support from the trainer development, and then being in my own space and taking modules solo. You learn a lot more because it's real. Like it's
Yeah.
things happen.
Yep.
That for some reason the stereo is not working, or
Yep.
this person is in your studio when you're not meant to be in the studio, and it's like, okay, well, let's just move out of this room into that room.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there's a lot that you just sometimes happens, and knowing the content makes it much easier to
Yeah.
keep everything on track when
Yep.
things don't happen
Yeah.
how they're supposed to.
Yeah. Character building, and also having the ability to adapt. I was going to say pivot then, but every time I say pivot, I laugh because I think of the Friends episode. So
Friends, yes. One of my favorite shows.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know how many times I've watched it over the years that I've been alive, and I could still watch it again and laugh at every single episode. But I've digressed. Yeah. But being able to adapt to what's in front of you and whatever it throws at you in the modules, I think is something you learn to do quite quickly, especially in those situations. But also, I think it was also, I look at it from a participant's point of view. It shows that they look at you and they go, wow, okay, you know what, I respect that, because they see that it's so left field that something's gone wrong, that you're able to adapt and go, right, cool, okay, guys, we're doing this. Yeah, cool, that was an awesome question. Thank you. Now back on to whatever it may be. And whether you've got to park that question and come back to it later, or you're able to actually answer it there and then, and whatever it is. But getting that flow, I think that's a skill set that we get as trainers, presenters, as educators, that is vital for what we do, but it also something you learn as you go.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like, when you're in that position as a trainer, is that you want to give everybody the correct answer, and you want to, them to have that respect for you in that role. So, when you do get something that's not I suppose as per the module content, or you get a question that's a bit left field, it's the ability to go, and be humble in the moment and be like, actually, I don't have the answer to what you're asking,
Yep.
but what I am going to do is I am going to find out the answer for you, and I'll get back to you. And it might not be this weekend, but just be patient with me. And then it shows a caring factor for their development and what they're after.
Yeah, that level of confidence is huge. It's to be able to, as you said, go, cool, you know what, I don't actually know, but I'm going to find out for you because I want to know too, but I also want to make sure that what I'm giving you is the correct answer and not lead you down a bum path and go, oh, no, I've said this and oh, crap, that was wrong. You lose respect. And I think you've done the right thing with that. So well done. So was the first module that you took, how did it go? Was it good, or was there a bit of a
No, it went very well. It was a small group of trainees, and it was Les Mills Tone, so a program that I obviously love. Otherwise, I wouldn't be teaching it. But it was a really good opportunity to have. I think there was only maybe 5 people in the module, so there was lots of room for us to talk about things that some were brand new instructors, and some people were already well-seasoned instructors, and been teaching for a long period of time. So as a trainer as well, when you're presented with that situation, there is so much room for conversation in terms of what you need to touch on for those that are brand new, and then also keeping it relevant for people in the room that have been teaching for so much, so that they don't fall out of being engaged with the content and where we're going, and feel like this isn't this isn't directed at me, or this is of no benefit to me. So with that it presented the ability to challenge myself to please both parties, I suppose. And
This is the Group X podcast. Now, just recently we had Les Mills Live down in Melbourne.
Yes.
How was that experience for you after not having live, big quarterly workshops for a couple of years. How was the experience for you?
It was amazing. I suppose in WA we've been very lucky that workshops have been going on for quite some time because of our lockdown protocols and things like that. They kind of lifted very early days, and we have a very well established team in WA at the time. So workshops were always running, so it was a really great way to connect with our um, local members and our local instructors.
Yep.
And then when we heard that Les Mills Live was happening, it was this, so exciting because for me, it was my first live event ever. And it was such a great opportunity to connect with all of my friends and instructors that had moved from WA and moved to Melbourne and Sydney and the other side of Australia, and actually engage with my fellow trainer and presenter
Yeah.
teammates. And social media is great at keeping us all in touch and
Yep.
seeing so much, but there's nothing beats being able to hug that person
Yeah.
and have a conversation and have a cry and be
Yep.
proud and see them up on stage and really bringing that what they're amazing at and being in their presence.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, Les Mills Live was just such an amazing event to just be present at, let
Yeah.
alone a
Yep.
part of.
Yep. The in real life experience can never be beaten. Can never ever be beaten. That's where it's. I refer this back to when virtual first came out with Les
Hmm.
Mills, and I was working for Les Mills, traveling around. I remember walking into clubs and clubs, instructors, Group X managers, whoever it was that was in front of me, having a go, saying, "Oh, Les Mills are just trying to ruin us. Rah, 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 they're going to take it all away from us." Never. It was never the aim.
Hmm.
And we
Hmm.
know now as well as we knew back then that an in real life face to face event is always going to be preferable over
Hmm.
a virtual experience. Yeah, we love and we. I think to me that's what Les Mills Live showed the other weekend was that instructors. I was only there on the Saturday for the sprint RPM and trip classes,
Mm.
and that was only instructors only. That wasn't open to the public. And that experience of seeing instructors there and having that face to face energy that you don't pick up on when it's over Zoom or over a platform where it's only one way as well. You just don't get
Hmm.
any of that. But to have that was absolutely amazing. But also then from what I saw from the next day and it was all I saw it all through social media stuff, the energy from having participants as well as instructors in that environment, you'll never ever virtual or online will never ever take away from having that in real life energy that's in the room. I remember when they hit play for the first RPM class they did on the Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon,
Mm.
the energy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You talked about getting goosebumps. That's what happens to me now when I just remember standing at the back of the room there, and when they hit play, as Lee was up on stage, introing, emceeing, and getting them all to come in, just the energy just lifted so much. And you don't, as well as I do, you don't get that at all from a face to a virtual event in that way. So
No.
it's so nice to have
And
that back.
for sure. And I think that was probably something that a lot of us learned during the whole COVID-19 period is that, we were teaching classes virtually, and we didn't have that face-to-face connection. And the one thing that I think we all then learnt after that period was actually how much we value face-to-face connection with our friends, our family, our members, and that without them, we actually don't have a job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and that we actually can't do the things that we get so much joy and have so much fun doing.
Yeah.
And so, being at Les Mills Live and seeing, the room full of 500 to 800 instructors who are just feeling the exact same thing that you are feeling, happy to be here, we're back. Like we are all in this together
Yep.
and feeling united and, with our love and our passion of what we do. It was an experience. And I remember standing up the back of the other classes that were running that day, the master classes, and just being the ultimate hype man,
Yep.
like jumping around and dancing and, loving this, contrast that, our teammates are bringing to the stage
Yeah.
with, the music and what they're doing, the workout, their voice. Like it was like a massive concert.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah, I'm smiling, like, like while I'm talking about this, like it was such an engaging event on so many levels. And just, yes, so great that we were able to be there with
Yeah.
everybody and feeling the same thing that they were feeling.
Yeah. Do you know of many WA people that came across for Les Mills Live? Was there many that came over?
Yeah, so there's a few people for body balance, a few people for body pump, core, um, sprint, body attack. I actually think there was somebody in every single program
Awesome.
from Western
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which is
That's
again
dedication.
so
That's
cool.
cool. Yeah. Dedication that they've actually made the effort to fly over, get accommodation, do all that kind of stuff, and be there as instructors to actually support what they're doing in the industry. I think that's huge. That's nice
Yeah,
to know that we've still got some diehards out there that want to be a part of it, and we'll do it at no matter what cost. Yeah,
yeah, and there
yeah,
was new instructors and instructors that are so experienced, like there that were from Western Australia, and people that had moved from one side of the country to the other, and being able to connect with them there. But yeah, it was. I think as well, if anyone was unsure of going, I was like, just go.
yep,
I encourage you to be 100% there. Like, and a few people were like, they couldn't get over how
yep,
amazing it was. And, and it's been so fun talking to people, and the fire and the passion that they've taken into their classes now, returning back. And
yep.
yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. No, I love that. Hey, a couple more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So I know it's
Mhm.
taking time on your Saturday afternoon, so I want to make sure we ask the good questions, but also give you time to get on with your life as well. Um, you mentioned now that you're still teaching classes and you're studio manager as well. What does
Yeah.
the future hold for you? What are you looking for in the next little bit, and what are your aims to achieve over the next couple of years?
I suppose for me, it's to continue to deepen my love for my programs, and to grow in my role as a trainer and a presenter. And I think also continue to grow and learn more about myself. I'm 28 years old. I've been teaching for 12 years, and a lot has changed for me from when I first trained. And part of my journey has always I've always felt like I'm still that 16-year-old.
Yeah,
Like I'm still this person who's really, really young, and I'm surrounded by these people that are more experienced than me. And why would somebody kind of listen to me, or what am I going to bring?
yeah,
So it's for me, it's continuing to empower myself to understand that I am experienced, and that there is a lot that I have to give to those that are just in front of me,
yep.
in my classes. And yeah, understanding who I am and my values and my beliefs, and then how can I bring them to my classes more, and to teach from a space where I'm comfortable,
Yep.
and I can create that fun community experience for those people, so that they can feel safe and have a great time as well.
Love that. Let me ask you a quick question. I know it's probably something you need to do as being part of the team. Assessing,
Mhm.
assessing yourself as
Yes.
a trainer presenter, assessing yourself as an instructor. How often do you do it, and how do you do it?
Yeah. So self-assessment it became a very handy tool in the 2-year period where COVID really rocked the world, because at that time we were receiving quarterly feedback from our program performance coaches. And that all ceased during that period, because people weren't teaching,
Yep.
or they weren't presenting at workshops. So, self-assessment became something that we had to rely on even more. And it was a matter for me of setting up a tripod, setting up my camera in the corner of the room, and just putting it on, and my members being like, what's that for? Like,
Yep.
Are you putting that like on social media? And I'm like, no, like you're not in it. It's for
Yep.
me. It's so
Yep.
that I can be better. And they're like, but why? Like you're like you're fine. And I'm like,
Yep.
thank you. Like I
Yep.
appreciate that. But it's just for me to understand more about what I'm
Yeah.
doing and how I can
Yep.
do it better. And
Yep.
so that's been something that has I suppose really helped me to see more and understand, me to amplify things and then dial down
Totally.
certain things
Yep.
and just learn a little bit more about um, myself as an
Yeah.
instructor, I suppose.
Yep.
But now part of our process is that we do biannual coaching for our programs,
Yep.
and so yeah, I guess being comfortable with a camera in the room
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's always a little bit daunting when
Yep.
when it's there, like there is this awareness, and then eventually you become more comfortable as the class goes on. But um, yeah, it's a great tool in terms of being able to see more from what is actually happening out there as
Yeah.
opposed to how it feels when you're actually
Yeah.
delivering it.
Yeah. Brilliant. I like hearing that. Have you another question? This is all popping into my head now. Have you got a
Go
mentor?
for it.
Have you got a mentor?
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone necessarily that I teach with as a mentor,
Yep.
but and besides the support that I get from our PPC, but someone who I do lean on a fair bit is my best friend Genevieve Rebecca.
Yep.
So she's in Melbourne, and she is somebody who I quite often can send a little snippet of something that I'm doing, and she'll be like, well, what was your goal when you're trying to do this, and really
Love
get
that.
me to kind of,
Yeah.
I suppose, understand that better,
Yep.
and then again just providing a few things of what I'm doing really well, and what I think I could improve on, and then getting a little bit of like that kind of nudge
That's
from
cool.
her as well. So
That's
yeah.
cool. I think no matter what we're doing in life, having a mentor, having someone that is there that you can bounce stuff off is vital.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
I've been teaching for a while, but Andrew Taylor's my mentor. He's been a mate of mine for
Hmm.
20 odd years, whatever it is. And still to this day, we'll still chat about stuff that's not even industry related, but it's just stuff
Yes.
in life that there's that one person that you bounce stuff off. And I think
Yeah.
it's vital. It helps in so many ways, so many ways.
Yeah, and I think like here in Perth, like I have a friend of mine. Her name's Siobhan, and she's somebody who keeps me grounded.
Yep.
So she's a group fitness manager at Genesis and a really good friend of mine. And she'll always be like, "You're doing too much," or "When are you taking a break?" And really looking out for me at that point of view as well. But then also being that person who hypes me up when I'm feeling flat,
Yeah.
and then tells me to you know pull my head out when I'm getting too big for my shoes,
Yep.
and things like that. So she's very good at keeping me on the straight and narrow,
Yeah.
and I'll always be grateful for her because of the, again, support that she gives me, and
Yep.
that I will then give back to her as well. So it's a mutual friendship.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, last question. What bit of
Yes.
advice can you give to an instructor that might be listening that wants to do what you're doing?
Mm. I think what I have learnt from this whole process is even when you go into something with a goal and an objective, and if you're a driven person, that still be open to the whole experience. And to become a trainer and a presenter, some of the best feedback that I was given, or piece of advice that I was given, was from a friend, Scott Hook, and he said the difference between someone who exercises or someone who's an athlete is that an athlete is somebody who's been doing all the basics and follows all the structure that somebody who just starts does. And it's the same as when you're an instructor and when you're a trainer and presenter. When you're a trainer and presenter, you've immersed yourself in the basics, the 5 key elements, the coaching model, your program, and the essence of it, and you're just super comfortable with it. It's the same as when you get started, but you've just had a longer exposure to it and really taken the time to develop those skills.
Yep. Yep.
And so, that for me was a bit of a pivotal moment. Had to throw it in there.
Yeah.
For me to then realize that, hey, actually, okay, I just need to spend time falling in love with my program
Yep.
and understanding myself more. And then that opened up a whole another level of
Yep.
my teaching to where, now it's when I go in to teach, I'm there for the experience. I'm there to have fun. I'm not there to, be this person and create this moment, because I know that it's going to naturally happen
Yep.
from everything else.
Yep. No, I appreciate that, because the next question I was just going to throw at you then was, why do you teach? But you answered it with that as well. So, mate, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for telling us about you, your story, your journey, and everything that you've done, and what you are doing as well, mate. I've greatly appreciated getting to know you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.